You're watching Deck Pass Live, presented by Xfinity from Mission Viejo, California, after some great racing on a Friday morning in Cali. But Ledecky, as you would expect, starting to pull away. This was one of her 4 race wins at the last Tier Pro Swim Series stop in San Antonio. Did not race the 1500 last night here, but cruising along here, and Ledecky sparkling 154.4. Fastest time in the world this year by 3/10.
Wow, wow.
Hi, everybody. Wow. Welcome to California. Jason Knapp alongside Rowdy Gaines, Katie Ledecky, some of the other stars of the United States doing what they do in this latest session of finals here at the Tier Pro Swim Series. Again, we'll talk more about the races coming up. Also hear from Haley Anderson, what she expects from Tokyo, going there in open water, but also looking to make it in the pool as well. And Rowdy, just talking about this meet in particular and how it translates to what these swimmers will see in Tokyo with the way things are set up.
You know, what I love about USA Swimming, Jason, is they give these athletes the opportunity to do so many amazing things during their career. This could have been much more difficult to be able to do this. And I think to be able to have a finals, it's not easy in the morning. And to be able to come in here in this beautiful setting, Mission Viejo, one of the classic facilities, classic community, and it's all of the swimming, and to do it in the morning in a setting like this, it's really speaks well to the sport itself. And again, to give the athletes a chance, because we're not going to have that at the Pro Swim in Indy, not going to have it at Olympic trials either. That's going to be live prime time, baby, so you don't have many opportunities to do that, and to have that really will help the athletes, I think.
And I was kind of struck, some of the athletes, doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but for Lily King and maybe some others, it is a little bit of a change to try to put yourself mentally, physically in the right spot to be at peak performance.
I think you have to look back at Beijing, and if I'm a swimmer now, I would go back and ask an Allison Schmidt, who's still swimming, by the way, or any of those retired athletes from Beijing, and ask them what their secrets were. You know, try to get a feel for what to expect once you make the team in Tokyo. I probably wouldn't do that kind of talking until I make the team. I don't want to jinx myself, but after I make the team, that'd be my first phone call to all those athletes in 2008.
Yeah, certainly trying to find the winning recipe, but certainly a lot of the performers you would expect to do good things here in Mission Viejo did just that this morning.
It was sort of exactly what we thought was going to happen, did happen, especially with all the great Olympians and the high-profile athletes. You know, you talk about the Katie Ledecky and Caleb and Lily, obviously, but I think the swim of the day was Melanie Margalis, who was also an Olympian, by the way, but really, her 4:35 was something really special, and second fastest time in the world by just a couple of hundredths, and I think she's well on her way to breaking 4:30 at the Olympic trials.
And gaining confidence in an event, Rowdy, that she didn't like. It's kind of like your vegetables when you were a kid. You know, your parents told you they were good for you. The 400 IM, it may not feel good as we talked about, but it's turned out to be really good for her.
I love talking to her because every time we interview her after a race, she's like, I don't like that race. I don't like that. Well, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But she's so good at it. And of course, that's her best event. And she's going to swim a lot of other events, but that's her best one.
Yeah, certainly give her great confidence for the 200 IM as well as we continue to progress along towards the U.S. Olympic trials. Again, the 2 waves coming up. First wave starts in less than a month. Let's give you a little bit of a teaser of what we'll see in Nebraska coming up here in less than 2 months.
It's such a big production. It was the coolest thing I had ever seen. My first race, I remember walking out and I was just scared.
It's the greatest spectacle in swimming.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's so much fun.
Trials is really the intense meet. I mean, the Ready Room at Trials doesn't get any more intense than that. The ground was shaking. Everyone was so excited, and you just hear this roar. You felt like a gladiator walking out into a coliseum. It is the most nerve-wracking meet I've ever been to. I mean, I've been to 2 Olympic Games, but the trials, anyone in the top 8 could be a medalist and a finalist in the Olympic Games.
At least at the Olympics, 3rd place means something. At trials, nope, only 1st and 2nd matter.
The competition is why we're so great, but at the same time is the scariest meet you've ever been to.
Well, with so many swimmers, over 1,300 already qualified for Omaha, in the interest of COVID safety, being broken up into 2 waves. First wave for the slower seeded swimmers, June 4th through the 7th. If you're in the top 2 there, you advance to the rest of the faster seeded swimmers, June 13th through the 20th, both in the same place in Omaha, trying to make those Olympic dreams a reality. We'll see how it all plays out. And one of those swimmers who already has her Olympic ticket punched to Tokyo, Haley Anderson, is standing by to chat with Rowdy.
Wow. 3-time Olympian, Olympic silver medalist back in 2012, Jason, and the only American ever to win a medal in open water swimming, and the first, obviously, as well. So, Haley, it's just a thrill to be standing here with you. And that's the feeling of already making the team. I know you've probably been asked this, but can you just take a deep breath and say, oh, at least I've made it, now everything's gravy?
Yeah, it's definitely a relief. I'm still not sitting back and relaxing, but yeah, it's definitely a relief to make it.
What's the difference between Haley Anderson in 2012 and 2016 and now 2021? How do you approach this Olympic Games differently than you did in the past?
So I've definitely learned so much from each cycle. And I'm definitely not the same swimmer I was when I made my first national team in 2009. And that's the beauty of this sport, is learning so much every time. So just really excited to learn something new this year.
You know, you're fifth in the 400 IM? No, 7th in the 400 IM this year?
Oh, yeah.
Just a little while ago,
Yeah.
and then you were 3rd in the 800. How important is the pool portion for you now going into trials? Because now women have the 1,500, which is probably still too short for you. Probably wish the 25K could be put in there. But you have the 1,500, the 800, now the 400 IM, the 400. How many events are you going to swim at trials?
To be determined. I still don't know what I'll swim. But yeah, I love the mile sometimes. I love the 800 sometimes. But yeah, all these races just really keep me sharp and focused.
You think back about 2012, and I remember calling that race and every minute of that race. One of the great Olympic races that I've ever called, believe it or not. After 2 hours, you win the silver medal by 4/10 of a second, I believe. And what was the biggest memory you had from that swim in Hyde Park and the water itself? I've heard stories about the first reaction you have about the water. I'm wondering if you...
Oh, yeah, I remember some of my reactions about the water, but I just remember that was probably one of my favorite venues. You could see all the fans lined up around Hyde Park, and so I could see all the American flags from fans, because it was open to it was an open park, so you could see, like, you didn't really need to have a ticket to go watch. So we actually had a lot of fans, which is not very typical for open water. So just seeing all the American flags, people cheering, and it was really exciting.
And the water tasted great, right?
Oh yes, very, very delicious.
Goosey.
Yeah, a little goose poop.
I heard about the goose poop in the water. So anyway, enough of that. So let's talk about this sport being such a family affair. One of the great things I love about swimming is the fact that everybody does it together in a family. You have 2 sisters that were amazing swimmers, obviously, in their own right. In fact, one, Alyssa, won a gold medal in the same Olympics that you won silver, right back in 2012. You both went to USC. Jordan went to Utah and had a great career herself. What was that like growing up with the sister act? I know you're all aged apart a little bit, but it still had to be...
Actually, Alyssa and I are 13 months apart,
right.
So we grew up doing everything together, and she was always a step ahead of me, so it was really fun and frustrating to chase her all the time, but I think that's why I am who I am now, is just constantly chasing her and looking up to her. And then Jordan, my youngest sister, swimming at Utah, very exciting. I got to swim at Olympic trials with her, so I've gotten to swim at Olympics and Olympic trials with both my sisters.
Now, do you guys get together and kind of just stay in a tight-knit situation when you go to trials like that? And what did you and Alyssa do at the Olympic Games themselves?
I mean, I actually didn't get to see her race in her Olympic event, so I had to watch it on TV because I wasn't there. But seeing her in the stands after my race.
And you weren't there because you were...
We were at our training camp. I was swimming a week later.
That's right.
So my event was a little later, but getting to see her in the stands afterwards was probably one of the best moments of my life. And it was just something that we went through together. And so to be able to have those dreams become a reality at the same games was exciting.
So you're such a tremendous swimmer, both open water, obviously, but also in the pool. And we talked about how you performed here. Do you train mostly in the pool?
Yeah.
Not so much. I mean, you're training here in Mission, right?
Yeah. So it's exciting.
Do you get to the ocean at all, or?
More for fun. I try to keep the ocean for fun, catch some waves, but I do 99% of my training in the pool, and then get most of my training for open water from races.
What about yards? You ever swim in this little short pool? What's that like?
Yeah, it is a little short. My short course days are way behind me from college, but I guess it is good to swim short course occasionally because I need to work on my turns still. I'm 29, still working on those little things.
I've read some articles about, how the COVID crisis affected you and as well as, everybody else. But when did you first learn about it, and what was your reaction to knowing that it was going to be at least a year delay?
So I was actually in Colorado Springs at OTC when everything got shut down. I was at home, though, when we found out it was being postponed. And I also had another situation of my coaches leaving USC. So there is so many things up in the air. I really had to uproot my life. Uproot my life from LA to Orange County. So it's not that big of a move, but yeah, really.
But it's a big move.
Yeah.
It's a big move when you change programs, especially toward the end of your career and everything.
Yeah.
And how's it going here then? I mean, how are you feeling about being at Mission and having Coach Schubert being a
it's
part
really
of that
exciting.
success?
It's been a really good change, a really hard change, but it's been really fun and some of the hardest practices.
Hard
ever.
in what way? Just from a practice standpoint?
Very long.
I've never heard that about Mark Schubert. I've always heard that he's pretty easy in the water.
Easy and short, really sprint-oriented workouts, yeah.
It's pretty motivating, though, having him on the deck, though, one of the great coaches in our sport, right over and just telling you what to do every day, right?
Yeah. It's we have some good banter back and forth, and yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you, and 29 years of age, still going as strong as ever. Good luck here in the next couple of months.
Thanks.
Right? Have a great time at trials, and then kick some butt in Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Thank you, Haley.
Haley, thanks for joining us. We're going to have Haley step out, and I'm going to slide back in here to chat with Rowdy. You could sit here and talk to her all day.
Dude, I never get tired of talking about swimming. I could talk swimming all day. Believe me, I bore my family half to death.
Great representative of the United States. Look forward to seeing what she can accomplish in Tokyo in at least one event and maybe more. We'll see how that plays out for her. We talk about other performers here and a lot of the stars shining bright at this Tier Pro Swim Series stuff. How about Melanie Margalis doing her thing here in the 400 IM, Rowdy? We talked about her performance and just able to push through coming from the second half. And it was interesting, she said she went out a little harder in that front half, kind of test herself, and it worked out pretty well.
And I'm sitting here looking at my phone because I want to make sure I get the splits right. But 58.6 going out. Check that. She was 104 going out, 114 on her back, 118 breast, and then came back in 102 coming back. So just another fine swim by Melanie. And like I said, it was the swim of the day for me, and it really sets her up well. And I'll go back to what we talked about on the broadcast. I think for my money, this is the most difficult event on the women's program from the depth standpoint.
Second fastest time in the world this year for Margalis, just 400ths off the best time. And again, Caleb Dressel in the men's 100 fly after winning in the men's 200 free earlier. Again, working his way as we look at the men's 200 free right now. And again, Dressel coming back against Seliskar.
Yeah, that final lap, he did what he's capable of doing at the Olympic trials. I hope he swims it. I don't necessarily hope he swims it in all the way through the finals because I don't want it to take away from some of his other events, obviously. But I'd love to see Caleb Dressel on that 800 free relay. And like he said, he's got to earn it. But if he can throw down a 145, say in a semi of a 200, he's on that 800 free relay.
And you also see when you take on the best that can bring out the best in everybody else. And Dressel's in your race anytime. It's going to get you a little extra, isn't it?
And I think the U.S. is certainly going to fly under the radar. They will not be the favorites when we get to Tokyo, no doubt about it. But I think that's a good position to be in, the dark horse for once, because most of the time they're the favorites in all the relays. And I think you're, like you said, if Dressel can throw a good one in, you've got Selly and a host of others that are capable of doing that 145 plus, and that's all they need.
And again, Dressel coming back out of lane 1 for the world record holder and 2-time rating world champ in the 100 fly. And we even missed it a little bit, camera blocking him. He's almost out of the shot, and he does take the win.
That's what was so strange about it. Man, he was completely out of the shot. And I'm sitting there, was it Caleb that had the long finish, or was it Martinez? I can't even remember now because I'm so thoughtful on the shot itself. And of course, Dressel was a little long, and he himself criticized himself, said, hey, listen, we got to clean that up, but better to do it here than at
and again,
Omaha.
All of the winners from today, again, Ledecky and King and Dressel a couple of times. And it's certainly looking like a lot of people are in good form here, year delay or not. They're certainly in the ready to get prepared for what they're going to see at Omaha, and hopefully they think for Tokyo.
Yeah, just an example. Lily going the 2 fastest times in the world this year, not only last night, but this morning as well.
Certainly she looks to be at the ready. Everybody else as well, as we get set for more action here in Mission Viejo at the Tier Pro Swim Series. And again, you had to get your brain right after finals this morning. Got more prelims coming up tonight. Looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. Thanks for joining us here on Deck Pass Live, presented by Xfinity. For Rowdy Gaines, I'm Jason Knapp. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Haley.